Hello, and thank you for watching this video. Today I would like to share some advice on how to practice. And I've talked about these ideas in previous tutorials, but today I really wanted to combine all of these concepts and principles into one cohesive video that you can reference if you feel as though you aren't able to make the most out of your practice time. Before I begin, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Tomplay. Tomplay is an online platform and app that features interactive sheet music, and they have these beautiful high-quality backing tracks that you can play along with. And they also have a lot of other very helpful tools, so I'm going to be getting into that and on how to use those later in this video, and I think that they are going to really help you make the most out of your practice time. So how do we engage in quality practice? My first recommendation would be to write down all of your main goals and deadlines. Actually, having a visual representation of how much time you have to prepare is very helpful. So write down your concert dates, recitals, juries, whatever they may be. And then you're going to take those bigger goals and you're going to break those down into smaller pieces. So let's say you have a performance in a month, you know that it has to be memorized. So let's say 2 weeks is your memorization deadline. A lot of the stress that comes from being disorganized or from procrastinating can be eliminated just by doing that one simple thing, and that is automatically going to help you feel more in control and physically more relaxed when you sit down to practice. The second thing I would say is to structure your daily practice routine. I'll tell you what I do, and then you can modify it to fit your schedule and what you're working on. I like to divide my practice time up into 5 categories. My warm-ups, which includes stretching, maybe soaking my arms in warm and cool water just to make sure they're relaxed. Any kind of slow technique work, so vibrato exercises, contact point exercises, anything like that, and my scales. And I use the Galamian scale pattern book, which I think is wonderful. It's a collection of all of the scales you could ever want to learn in all of the different octaves, arpeggios, thirds, fourths. It has everything. And it includes different bowing patterns, different rhythm patterns. So I would highly recommend that for your scale work. And then I go on to my etudes, which includes popper, maybe some Piatti. Then I move on to my unaccompanied Bach, which you might think is silly to include in everyday practice, but I find that it helps me not only warm up physically, but also mentally, because I'm having to track along with all of these different voices that he includes in a single line. From there, I move on to my solo repertoire. So for example, right now I'm reworking Brahms' Cello Sonata in E minor. And then from there, I go on to any kind of chamber repertoire. So quartet music, orchestra music, anything like that. And what I find is that, of course, it helps me keep up with all of these different pieces that I'm learning, so nothing kind of slips through the cracks, but it also ensures that I have a really good warm-up built into every day's practice. Once you have your deadline set and you've structured your daily practice routine, I would recommend grabbing your metronome. And I know that a lot of students hate practicing with a metronome, I get it, but it can be your best friend if you just give it a chance. Give it some time, take some time to get used to playing with it. It makes a huge difference because it holds you accountable to practicing in a very disciplined and patient manner. So let's say that you're having trouble with a piece or a passage and you need to get it up to tempo. What you do is you start out very, very, very slowly. So set the metronome to something like 60. Play through it, focusing on every detail, making sure that you aren't making any mistakes, that you're staying very relaxed. If that goes well, bump it up a little bit, do the same thing. The next day, bump it up some more, next day, some more. And what this does is over the course of weeks or maybe even months, you're gradually increasing the speed while not sacrificing good technique and relaxation. And eventually, by the end of it, you're going to be able to play through without any problems. You're going to feel comfortable with it. It's been so ingrained into you through this disciplined practice with the metronome. Now I want to talk about the importance of isolating passages and techniques. Isolating passages is very, very important. And I see so many students do this where they'll start at the beginning of a piece, they'll play through, they'll make a mistake, they get a little frustrated, but they think, okay, well, if I start back at the top again, I'll play through and it won't be a problem. Maybe that's true. Maybe you sail through, no problem, but probably you're going to hit that same spot and you're going to make that same mistake. You'll get a little bit more frustrated. You'll start at the top again, play, hit it, get more frustrated, and that cycle just continues. So what you want to do instead is pinpoint exactly where the problem is happening. And then instead of just thinking, oh, it's just a difficult spot, that's why I'm having trouble. No, it's like, okay, why is it difficult? Is there a shift that is making you nervous because you're not sure that you're going to hit that high note? Is it a sudden dynamic change that you keep forgetting about? Maybe it's an articulation that you can't do because you're in the wrong place in your bow. Whatever the case, you need to figure out exactly what it is, really analyze it. And once you figure that out and you figure out how to overcome it, iron out that specific measure. And then instead of going back to the top of the piece again, which kind of resets your nervous system so that it just, starts that cycle back again, what you want to do is gradually expand backwards to put it back into context. So move back by a measure, start there, play through, move back by another measure, start, play through, and so on until finally you do get back to the beginning of the piece and you're able to get through it without any problem. In terms of isolating technique, I tend to do this closer to the performance state once I'm already very comfortable with the overall piece and I'm starting to do more run-through practice. So what this is you make a list of all of the different things that you could focus on. So maybe intonation, bow speed, contact point, dynamic range, anything like that. Honestly, the list could be endless. I'm just sharing with you some of the top ones that I think about. And you take one of those things and you sit down and you do a run through only thinking about that one thing. So if I'm choosing intonation, I am not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about bow control, nothing. I'm just focusing on playing every single note as in tune as I possibly can. Once I do that run through, I'll do a second run through thinking about something else and letting intonation kind of go by the wayside. What happens is that over time, your nervous system, because it was allowed to slowly focus on one single thing, it was allowed to, just give all of its focus to that one thing. Over time, it is actually able to integrate all of these different elements so that by the time, that the performance comes around, you do have the full package. All right, next thing is to record yourself, which I know is brutal, but it's very eye-opening. Undoubtedly, there are things in your playing that you just aren't able to catch while you're actually playing, and you're not going to notice them until you go back and you listen to a recording of yourself. I know it's painful, but if you do it, I promise you will learn so much and you will be able to improve. My last recommendation is to always write things down. You may think that you'll be able to remember everything that you discovered during your practice time, but inevitably there are going to be some things that slip through the cracks. So write them down. Your time is valuable. You've made this time investment, so don't let that go to waste. Okay, so now I want to show you how to use some of these Tomplay tools to help you practice efficiently, and this is going to slot in directly to what I was just talking about. So the first thing I want to show you is their metronome. To change the tempo, we just hit this tempo icon here, and then to trigger the metronome, we just hit the metronome button over on the right. Okay, now what I want to show you is how to use the looping function. And this ties into what I was talking about with isolating a certain passage. So what you do is you hit right at the beginning of the measure where you want to start, and a red line shows up. So it's already here. There's the red line right at the beginning of measure 175. If I hit the loop button, brackets pop up, and I can drag them to be anywhere I want. So let's say that you're having trouble with the first 4 notes of measure 175. You're going to isolate those. Once you work through whatever issue you're having, then you can back up the brackets like we talked about, back it up a measure, start there, back it up a little bit more, start there, and just keep looping around. And the nice thing about this is that you can select exactly what you hear whenever you have that loop going. So if you hit the audio button with the drop-down menu, you can hear the cello and piano both, or just the piano, just the cello, or no accompaniment at all. The recording function on this is really easy to use. It's just this button here. Hit that. You have 2 options, audio and video or audio only. Pretty straightforward. And again, just select whatever tempo you want to record with. So make sure that your metronome is set correctly, and make sure that you have the instrument set that you want to hear while you're recording, because you can record on top of the cello and the piano, or you can just record on top of the piano or just without anything at all. The last thing that I want to show you how to do is to make markings on the score. So just hit the annotate the score button, which is on the top right hand corner of the screen. And it gives you all of these options where you can draw, highlight, add notes, text, whatever. I'm going to hit the annotate button because I want to add an up bow to the beginning of measure 175, that first note. So we drag it, and there you go. So those are the tools that I wanted to show you that fit in really well with what I was talking about today. They do have a lot of other things that you can practice with and work with, and they have over 40,000 titles for, I believe, a total of 28 instruments. So their library is huge, and they have music for all different levels, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate player, an advanced player. They're going to have something for you. And of course, whenever you sign up, you are helping to support this channel as well. And they do have a 14-day free trial. So just take a couple of weeks to try it out. I really think that you're gonna like what they have to offer. And I think that it's gonna help you make the most out of your practice time. All right, that's all that I have for today. I hope that you found this video to be helpful. Thank you for watching.